Echoes of the Heartstone. Chapter 1, The Face in the Mirror. Death is an odd companion. As a child, you're wrapped in comforting lies, don't worry, it won't find you for a long time. But it shadows your steps, lurking behind laughter and sunshine, a ghost that reminds you that joy is finite. You learn about it through the loss of pets, grandparents, and strangers on the evening news. Then, one day, death comes knocking on your door in a way you never anticipated. I was just a few weeks past my 17th birthday when it happened. 17, a time when the world is supposed to be open and filled with promise. Instead, I found myself stranded in grief when my parents' car collided with a tree. The crash was sudden and immense. They didn't survive. The doctors and police did their best to console me, but they had no explanation that made sense. Accident becomes such a cold word, a schoolyard bully with no regard for feelings. Aunt Sarah took me in after the ashes had settled, a bittersweet reminder of my mother, her older sister. It often hurt to look at her. I saw my mother's smile, her laughter, and her kindness echo in every quirk. But there was solace too. Aunt Sarah's home was a safe haven, even if she struggled more than she let on. I was grateful, but it felt wrong, a bittersweet joke that I was now to navigate the world without my parents. 2 years later, just months before I'd graduate, I knew I had to escape this endless loop of sorrow, and with that ambition, I found a tentative resolve. I wanted to travel and take photos, capture pieces of light before they flickered into darkness. Maybe it was naive of me, but it was a dream worth holding on to. On that bleak February afternoon with snow swirling outside my window, I felt the familiar grip of restlessness cloaked in grief. I slipped on my warmest boots and zipped up my olive green winter coat, determined to make my way to the lake, my refuge, my escape. My camera nestled in my pocket like an old friend. Aunt Sarah would worry, she always did, with her anxious heart and relentless desire to protect. But I craved solitude amidst the biting wind and swirling flakes. The driveway crunched beneath my feet as I made my way to my father's old pickup truck, a worn-out relic that still held their scent. Whether the universe had a penchant for cruel irony or not, I was almost grateful for it. I cranked the engine and drove slowly toward the frozen expanse of the lake and the woods that surrounded it. As I parked at the water's edge, the beauty of the winter landscape took my breath away. The lake shimmered under the thin veil of white, and snow-dusted evergreens stood goodbye to the waning light of day. With a deep breath, I ventured out, feeling the cold nip at my cheeks. "Hey there, Mom and Dad," I whispered to the crisp air, kneeling into the snow, arranging my bouquet of pale pink tulips and soft lilacs, a wilting offering. "I've missed you." Talking to the emptiness gave me comfort, though it felt silly, like I was tipping the scales of sanity. I snapped a few photos, the lens capturing the beauty only I seemed to appreciate. With each shot, I could almost hear their laughter blending with the haunting beauty of the snow. But as I turned to the view of the crooked old trees framed against the sky, something jolted me. A flicker of movement caught my eye. I squinted into the distance, where the trees grew denser, shadows seeming to dance beyond the pale light. My heart raced, and I snapped another shot, the click echoing loudly against the quiet forest. And there she was, an ethereal figure peeking from behind a tree, illuminated by the fading sunlight. Her hair was dark as midnight, framing a porcelain face with piercing teal eyes that burned like gemstones. She wore a long black coat that swirled like smoke around her. "Is this real?" I whispered, feeling a shiver creep up my spine. I blinked and somehow, she stepped closer. The calmness of the woods felt distorted, electric. "Real? That's such a relative term, don't you think?" Her voice was soft, a smooth melody that twisted my insides. I stumbled back, my camera swinging from my neck. "Who are you?" The question barely stumbled out, thick with fear. "Names can be tricky," she replied, her smile both inviting and sinister. "But you can call me Ren. What do you want?" She stepped closer, fangs just visible behind her lips. "I've been watching you, dear." The air crackled with something electrifying, a pulse of the universe reminding me that not all shadows were endless. "Watching?" I echoed, every nerve in my body at attention. The pain you carry, it tastes sweet, like the fresh snow. I can give you something you desire in your heart, she whispered, and I could feel the magnetic pull edging closer, drawing my curiosity against my instincts. What could you possibly know about my heart? I challenged, a tremor in my voice, but I didn't step away. I know death, darling, and I know how to dance with it, Ren offered, her smile sly and knowing. And I know that you're searching for answers. And I suppose you think you have them. Maybe. Maybe not. She leaned in, and I caught a glimpse of her sharp canines glistening in the dim light. But wouldn't it be fun to find out? A boldness bubbled within me, a reckless curiosity yearning to break free from the weight of sorrow. How does this work, exactly? Ren laughed softly, a sound both haunting and enchanting. It's simple, I lead and you follow. Explore the dark corners of your heart, face your fears, and perhaps discover the truth of your parents' death. Are you ready for this journey? I hesitated, understanding the loaded implications of her words. Yet, without family, without answers, how could I say no? All right, I breathed, the chill of the air mingling with the warmth of determination. Let's dance with death. As Ren extended her hand, a mix of terror and liberation coursed through me. And in that moment, I realized I was no longer alone. Chapter 2, Navigating Shadows. A week passed, each day a blurred intertwine of chilling revelations and the burgeoning thrill of forbidden exploration. Under Ren's guidance, I walked through the shadowy corridors of my heart, faced ghosts I thought long buried, and learned to wield my camera as a weapon against darkness. Aunt Sarah remained blissfully unaware of my hauntings, drowning in the depths of her own sorrow. She spent nights lost in her wine glass, unmindful of the quiet shifts in our home. In those moments, I reveled in Ren's presence, absorbing every lesson like an eager pupil. Are you ready for our next adventure? Ren asked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Tonight, we play a game, a hunt. What kind of hunt? My pulse quickened at the thought. The hunt for truths, she declared, her voice smooth as velvet. We're going to gather fragments of your parents' past, clues they left behind. Tonight, we'll return to the house where it all happened. A wave of unease washed over me, but an undeniable excitement pulsed beneath it. Are you sure that's wise? Ah, wisdom is a fragile thing, Dahlia. It's all about perspective, really. She tilted her head, the moonlight dancing off her raven hair, and I couldn't help but feel captivated. Are you ready? I nodded, resolving to understand whatever fate awaited me. We slipped out into the night, the cold air biting at my cheeks. As we arrived at the house where my life had shattered, I felt an overwhelming wave of nostalgia and grief. Memories danced in shadowy corners as I stepped forward, each creak of the floorboards a whisper of my past. Keep your eyes open, Ren urged, gliding beside me, a dragonfly flitting gently in the wind. Sometimes, the answers we seek are hidden in plain sight. I wandered room to room, heart racing, breath hitching every time the floor creaked beneath my weight. Each threshold pulled memories from the depths of my mind, interactions lost to time, laughter echoing still, strange snatches of an ordinary life that carried the weight of everything unfinished. Do you see that? Ren murmured, her voice slicing through my reverie. I turned to look where she pointed, to the large, shattered mirror hanging on the wall. Its fragments reflected jagged pieces of both joy and despair, a mosaic embodying the life I had lost. What does it mean? Ren approached the mirror, her breath a haze in the cold air. Sometimes, answers appear where you least expect them. What's this mirror showing you? Its cracked visage seemed darker than it should be. I could almost hear my parents, their laughter mingling with threads of sorrow. But amongst all, something else flickered. I see, shadows, I replied, my voice shaky. Dark shapes lurking, withholding the truth. Ren smiled, a knowing glint in her eye. Exactly. The truth is rarely straightforward. We need to embrace the shadows before we can see clearly. As we stared into the depths of the mirror, the air grew heavy with anticipation, thickening like fog. What if digging leads to something terrible? Then we deal with it, she whispered conspiratorially, leaning in closer. Let's break this mirror and free the truth within. It's time to confront the past. The moment her words settled in the air, she thrust her hand into the mirror. It shattered, sending shards scattering before us, rich with swirling darkness and light. And from the chaos emerged an energy, faint whispers of forgotten conversations, the glimpses of memories lost. With each piece uncovered, a deeper connection pulled at my heart, a string that tethered me firmly to my parents' lives, and the life that had been snatched away. Are you ready to face the echoes of time? Ren asked, the darkness dancing around her fingers. Yes, I breathed, voice steadying. I want to know the truth, no matter how painful. Ren grinned, her eyes alight with fiery determination. Then let's begin the search for answers. They're waiting, it's time to mirror back the past. And what lies beyond, perhaps, was more than mere shadows. It was the dance of the living and the dead, and I was ready to hold the hand of the one who knew the waltz. Chapter 3, Echoes of Truth. The shards of the shattered mirror scattered across the floor glittered like stars, each piece a fragment of a story waiting to be told. As Ren stood beside me, the atmosphere thickened with a palpable sense of anticipation. Gritting my teeth, I leaned closer, studying the whispered echoes unfolding within their reflective surfaces. What do we do now? I asked, heart racing with both fear and excitement. I could feel the weight of unspoken truths lingering in the air around us, like the tension before a storm. Touch the pieces, Ren instructed, her voice smooth as silk. Let the truth move through you, seep into your consciousness. Sometimes it's about feeling rather than seeing. With shaky hands, I reached out. The first shard was cool against my fingertips, and in an instant, it resonated with a flicker of memory. Images flooded my mind, my father, smiling, holding a fishing rod, laughter echoing across a sunlit lake. My mother next to him, her laugh ringing like music, carefree and bright. This was happiness once lost to death's cruel grasp. I gasped, pulling back. I can see them. The warmth in my chest threatened to spill out, a mixture of joy and grief. But why does it feel so bittersweet? Ren stepped closer, her fingertips trailing along the edges of the broken glass. The past is multidimensional, filled with pain and pleasure intertwined. Cherish the beauty, but be prepared to confront what remains unspoken. Closing my eyes, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what else lay within the shards. I took another piece, its edges sharp but comforting in its chill. This time, another vision emerged, a frantic scene of my parents shouting at someone, their expressions twisted in fear. A shadowy figure loomed at the edge of my memory, a distant threat that seemed to slip away as quickly as it had drawn near. What was that? I stumbled back, panic rising within me like an animal desperate to escape. Who were they fighting? Ren glanced at me, her eyes glinting with something significant. That's the question we need to explore, isn't it? Understand that fear, that urgency. The truth may be hidden within their last moments. Jerking my gaze back to the shards, I hesitated before reaching for another piece, this one smaller and more fragmented, crumbling under my fingertips. As I touched it, the world blurred and I fell into darkness. Suddenly, I was in a small, dimly lit room filled with people. My parents stood at the forefront, animated in a heated conversation, unfamiliar faces surrounded them, eyes wild with intensity. A woman stood uncomfortably close to them, her fingers trembling as she held a small, wrapped package. Are you sure it's safe? My mother's voice echoed in the distance, tinted with concern. The woman's face tightened. You need to understand, you're in more danger than you realize. He's coming for you. The reflection shifted like a wave, and I saw my father shaking his head, resolute, but fear was evident in his eyes. We can handle whatever comes, just don't alert anyone else. Panic gripped my heart as the scene flickered, darkness threatening to swallow me alive. Stop! I shouted, pulling away and gasping for air. Dahlia, Ren's voice snapped me back to the present. Her eyes were wide, a flicker of concern now etched across her features. You were given a piece of their last encounter. Did you see the woman? I think so, I stammered, stumbling on my words. But I don't know who she is. Why were they afraid? What did she mean, he's coming for you? A silence hung in the air, thick with realization. Ren breathed slowly, her smile gone. We need to find her. She might hold the key to understanding the threat that cost you everything, a thread that leads back to your parents' final moments. If we can seek her out, perhaps you will bring clarity to the chaos. I took a deep breath, the weight of uncertainty settling heavily on my shoulders. Where do we even begin? A slow smile spread across Ren's face, an undercurrent of mischief in her eyes. We can locate her. I can sense a strong connection to your family's past, I'll guide you. Ready yourself, Dahlia. We are diving into the darkness. Chapter 4, Into the Abyss. The snow crunched beneath our boots as we stepped away from the remnants of the house. Northward, through streets blanketed in white, we ventured deeper into a forgotten part of the city. Ren led the way, a torch against the dark, the shadows dancing beside her. How can you track her? I asked, the chill of uncertainty creeping into my veins. It's the energy of memories that keeps the echoes alive, she explained, her gaze fixed forward. Sometimes it's not just names or faces we seek but the echoes of emotions, those lingering connections we cannot sever easily. Her fear still vibrates through the fabric of time, and we can tap into it. With every step my heart raced, not just from the cold, but from the anticipation of unearthing the truth. Ren's presence was both disturbingly comforting and unsettling, as if the line between protector and predator was fluently blurred. As we reached the abandoned part of town, the buildings stood warped and twisted, their former glory long diminished. It felt otherworldly, the remnants of lives once lived echoing in the stillness punctuated only by Ren's breath beside me. She paused suddenly, her keen eyes narrowing. Here. I can sense her presence nearby, but we need to uncover her heart's memory. How do we do that? We must create a bridge. Your heart, with its vulnerability, acts as the anchor, it will draw her close. Speak your truth, and let the energy flow. I swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling in my chest. Steeling myself, I nodded. I closed my eyes, the winter wind biting at my skin, and summoned the memories of my parents, the laughter, the love, the last echoes of fear. I am Dahlia Felsen, I murmured, voice trembling. I'm searching for the forgotten pieces of my past, for the truths that haunt me. If you are out there, please show yourself. The moments stretched as silence enveloped us, wrapping around my heart like a vice. Just as hopelessness began to creep in, a gust of wind swirled around me, stirring the snow and displacing shadows. A haunting figure emerged from the haze, an apparition cloaked in fog, a wisp of memory that gained form. The woman from my visions stood before me, her features delicate, yet sharp, hazel eyes blazing with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. Who dares summon me? She croaked, voice dripping with otherworldly resonance. I'm Dahlia, I breathed. I need to know what happened to my parents. Please, tell me the truth. A look of surprise flickered across her face, as if recognition sparked somewhere deep within her. You're the lost child. The one they tried to protect. But truth is a pile of ashes, my dear. What do you think you'd find? I need to understand. They died protecting something. I want to know why, who threatened them, and what secrets they kept. My voice wavered, the rawness of emotion bubbling through me. Secrets are burdens we choose to carry. Her voice crooned with an eerie harmony, the fog curling around her figure like an embrace. They were entangled in a web darker than you realize. A man, his ambition knew no bounds, and your parents became pawns in his game. They died trying to stop him. Bile rose in my throat. What man? A name. Please. I've lost too much. The specter hesitated, her eyes glistening with empathy yet weighed by sorrow. Name's tattoo lives with pain. But the truth is a heavy burden, to unveil it may lead you to the abyss. They protected something of great value, something he would kill to possess. Ren's presence beside me flickered, almost as if she was growing impatient. We need that name. The journey darkens without it. The woman hesitated, but when she met my gaze, something shifted. Mason Delacroix. He is a fiend, gifted yet twisted, consumed with greed and power. He is the reason for your parents' downfall. Mason Delacroix, I repeated, the name rolling off my tongue like ash. It tasted bitter and sharp, sparking a deep anger within me. Thank you. The woman smiled sadly, her form beginning to fade back into the mist. Remember, Dahlia, seeking the truth may open doors best left closed. But should you choose to confront him, know that you are not alone. Shadows may gather, but so will allies if you search hard enough. As her figure faded into the mist, I felt Ren draw closer, her warm breath against my ear. We have a name. Now we can begin to unravel the threads of fate. Chapter 5, Weaving Shadows. After learning the name Mason Delacroix, my life took on a new urgency. Ren had been guiding me, teaching me how to navigate the shadows that my newfound knowledge cast over my life. What's next? I asked as we trudged back into the city, the cold biting at my face but my spirit ignited with determination. Now, Ren replied, her smile sly, we gather the pieces, people who knew them, who stood against him. Allies can be found in the unlikeliest places. Do you have someone in mind? I certainly do, Ren said, her voice low and conspiratorial. We must seek out your parents' closest friends. I can lead you to a woman who knows more than she lets on. Together, we will uncover more details about the darkness that festers within Delacroix. We moved through the streets of the city until we reached a worn and humble cafe tucked between larger buildings. The sign outside read, "The Velvet Ground," an array of fairy lights twinkling in the winter twilight. Ren stepped inside, allowing the warmth to wrap around us like a blanket. The aromas of coffee and spices soon drowned out the cold, igniting my senses. As I surveyed the cafe, my gaze fell upon a woman nestled in the far corner, light dancing around her in an ethereal glow. She had striking silver hair that framed her face, and her piercing blue eyes held the weight of countless stories. She sat alone, a thick book open in front of her, deep in thought. Is that her? I asked, my voice a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Ren nodded. Yes, that's Nora. She was your parents' confidant. If anyone knows about Mason and the dangers he poses, it will be her. With a deep breath, I approached, my heart pounding in my chest. Excuse me, I said softly, hesitating before continuing. Are you Nora? She looked up, surprise and recognition crossing her face. Dahlia, she said, eyes lighting up with warmth yet laced with sadness. I had hoped I'd see you again. I sank into the chair across from her, desperation clawing at my insides. I'm searching for the truth about my parents. I need to understand what happened, I admitted, the weight of my words heavy in the air. Nora's eyes became solemn, sorrow echoing in their depths. Your parents were brave, Dahlia. They faced dangers most could not even fathom. Mason Delacroix is a man willing to destroy entire lives for power. I never understood why they took on such a risk. Do you know what they were protecting? I asked, leaning forward. She reached forward, her fingers brushing my hand, a soft reminder that I wasn't entirely alone. They found something he sought for years. A relic that could alter the balance between life and death. They knew it was dangerous, and to protect you, they decided to hide it. But Mason had connections, he always hunted your parents' every move, hoping to find that relic. A knot formed in my stomach, deepening with every word. What relic? The Heartstone. A powerful object said to grant unimaginable ability. She paused, glancing around as if someone might overhear. It can trap or release souls, manipulate life essence itself. Your parents kept it safe, but it put them in great danger. Reeling, I felt the pieces of the puzzle coming together. So they sacrificed their lives to protect something so powerful. Why didn't they tell me? Nora sighed, her gaze shifting to the window, the snow beginning to fall once more. They loved you too deeply to burden you with that knowledge. They wanted you to have a normal life, untouched by the darkness that lurked around them. I don't want to be normal, I exclaimed, passionate fire igniting within me. They died for this, and I deserve to know the truth. Nora looked at me with a mix of fear and admiration. Very well. If you're truly willing to confront Mason, then you must prepare yourself. Seek the Heartstone and harness its power before he can. Only then do you have a chance against him. Ren chimed in, a glimmer of excitement lighting her eyes. You can find it, Dahlia. We'll find it together. How? I asked, the dark hole of uncertainty looming. There are stories, old legends that speak of its hiding place. We need to go to the library in the heart of the city. The archives may hold the key to locating the Heartstone. As I nodded, I felt a sense of purpose rising within me. I didn't want to run from the truth anymore. This time, I was ready to confront it, embrace it, and use it to reclaim the life that had been stripped away. Chapter 6, Light in the Shadows. The aroma of ink and aged parchment welcomed us as we stepped into the grand library, its tall ceilings adorned with intricate designs, and walls filled with an endless array of books. A deep sense of history seeped from every crevice. This is the library where much of the city's secrets are kept, Ren commented, her eyes glimmering as we moved deeper into the vast expanse. Let's find what we need. I followed her between the towering shelves, my heart racing with anticipation, especially with the prospect of recovering my parents' legacy and discovering the truth behind the Heartstone. After searching through dusty tomes and books filled with faded illustrations of ancient artifacts, Ren stumbled upon an old, leather-bound volume. Here, she said, her voice a mix of excitement and reverence. The pages were yellowed, covered in elegant script. She flipped through them, her brow furrowing in concentration. This speaks of the Heartstone, and its last known location. We'll need to decipher this to understand the way to retrieve it. As the words and illustrations unfolded before us, a chill danced down my spine. What are these symbols? Ren studied the images carefully, her tongue flicking over her lips. It seems like a map, hidden within allegories. Just as the excitement began to build, a shadow moved across the library's entrance. An all-too-familiar figure loomed under the dim light. The librarian, a stout woman with a stern expression and eyes sharp as knives, appeared. Who dares to disturb the sanctity of this archive? She demanded, her gaze piercing. Ren stiffened in the shadows. Steady yourself. She might be more than meets the eye, she whispered. The librarian approached us, scanning the pages I held in my trembling hands. That book is not meant for idle curiosity. It's about the Heartstone, I interjected, voice almost breaking. I have every right to know. No, child, she said, shaking her head slowly. It's a perilous endeavor to seek the Heartstone. It carries a darkness that cannot be controlled. Maybe that's why I have to do it. I exclaimed, the frustration boiling within me. My parents died to keep it safe. I won't let their sacrifice be in vain. The librarian's expression softened slightly. It is not just about their sacrifice. The darkness wants to consume it, use it for nefarious purposes. Mason Delacroix is just the beginning. Ren stepped forward, her presence fierce yet protective. We understand the risks, but giving in to fear means letting evil thrive. The librarian studied us for a moment, weighing our determination in her gaze, then sighed. If you are truly resolute, then I can help guide you, but you must tread carefully. With a flick of her wrist, she gestured for us to follow her into an alcove stacked with more tomes filled with history and lore. There are tales of past seekers, those who sought the Heartstone, and faced the consequences of their choices. Can you tell us where it is? I asked, my heart racing as hope ignited once more. To seek it, you must first interpret its knowledge, she explained, pulling a dusty tome from the shelves. It resembled a grimoire, adorned with mystic symbols. Inside are stories of those who dared attempt this quest. The journey will be harrowing, but it will guide you to the Heartstone. Ren's eyes sparkled with intrigue as the librarian opened the book. Many sought after it, but very few returned unchanged. Remember that. I felt the weight of her warning settle over me, resonating in the pit of my stomach. But my resolve was stronger than fear. I understand, I replied, determination echoing in my voice. I will find the Heartstone and uncover the truth. The librarian pointed to a passage hidden behind the other writings. To find it, you must first brave the cave beyond time, where reality intertwines with memory. The Heartstone is guarded there, but the passage will reveal itself only to those who are worthy. Ren leaned in closer, excitement swirling around us. The cave beyond time, it's said to hold memories of the past. It could lead us directly to the Heartstone. I nodded, the adrenaline surging through me like wildfire. Let's go, then. No more waiting. From that moment, my path was clear. With the librarian's guidance, we immersed ourselves in the knowledge of the Heartstone, piecing together the legends that wove through time. I was ready to embrace the shadows, to find the light, and no darkness would keep me from dousing myself in the truth I so desperately sought. Chapter 7: The Cave Beyond Time. The journey toward the cave beyond time led us through a dense forest blanketed in darkness, thick branches twisting overhead like the fingers of forgotten spirits. With each step, the air turned heavier. I could feel the echoes of my parents' past beneath the surface of the soil, guiding and mingling with the shadows of the trees. Are you sure this place is safe? I murmured, glancing back at Ren as we forged ahead. Safe mode and reality are fluid concepts, she replied with a playful smirk, her fiery hair bouncing in the wind. Just remember, the further we go, the more we might see things we're not prepared for. There's no turning back, I whispered with resolve. I have to know. As we reached a clearing, the mouth of the cave gaped before us, like a dark abyss poised to swallow the world. Wisps of mist curled out from its entrance, and an eerie glow flickered from within, casting shadows against the stone walls. Here we are, Ren said, her smile softening, giving me a sense of comfort. Ready? Yes, I took a breath, gathering my courage as we stepped inside. The air grew cool and damp, a stark contrast to the chill of the outside world. I gripped my camera tightly, prepared to capture whatever might await us. The interior felt like a labyrinth, a winding tunnel of rock illuminated by bioluminescent fungi that pulsed gently, casting an otherworldly light. It was breathtaking and terrifying all at once. Time bends here, Ren said as we moved deeper. Remain grounded in your intent, and you may find visions from your past, glimpses of truths awaiting unearthing. As we ventured farther, I started to hear whispers, almost like the echoes of laughter or lullabies suspended in the air. Overwhelmed, I closed my eyes and prepared to let the cave reveal its secrets. Suddenly, visions flooded my mind, and I was transported into a memory, my parents standing in our living room, warm light enveloping them as they played a haunting melody on an old piano. I watched, heart aching, knowing that these intimate moments now belonged to the past. Dahlia, Ren's voice sliced through the veil, and I stumbled back to the cave. The relic is not just a physical object. It's intertwined with emotions and memories. The Heartstone seeks a worthy carrier willing to confront their past. Feeling the weight of Ren's words, I pressed onward. Shadows spiraled around us, shapes twisting and contorting, as tendrils of darkness beckoned and pulled. I could see my parents' figures dissipate into the gloom, as if the very essence of their sacrifice was waging war against the shadows, reminding me that I was not alone in this fight. Keep moving, Ren urged, light guiding us through the darkness. Focus on your truth, and it will lead you to the Heartstone. With renewed determination, I pushed through and entered a chamber shimmering with a radiant glow. In the center, atop a pedestal of ancient stone, sat the Heartstone. Its surface shimmered like a night sky filled with stars, the light pulsating rhythmically, resonating with our presence. Holy, I gasped, captivated by its power. The atmosphere around us crackled like electricity, and I could sense the weight of past burdens hovering in the air, the souls of those who had sought its magic. Reach for it, Dahlia, Ren urged, her excitement palpable. Claim your destiny. I stepped closer, heart thrumming wildly. The Heartstone glowed, its radiance almost beckoning me to come forth. As I stretched my hand out, I was enveloped by warmth. In that moment, the memories of my parents surfaced again, wrapping around me like a protective embrace, fueling my resolve. "I claim it," I whispered, closing my eyes as warmth enveloped my body. When I touched the Heartstone, a surge of energy coursed through me, a rush of emotions, love, fear, and strength. And suddenly, the air erupted with light. Shadows encroached like ghostly hands, angrily resisting the radiance I wielded. "Stand your ground," Ren shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. I focused the energy within me, harnessing the Heartstone's power to illuminate the depths of our surroundings, pushing the shadows back until they clawed at the edges of the bright light. "Together!" Ren cried, her energy merging with mine, expanding the glow around us. The shadows hissed and retreated under the weight of our combined light. As I focused on the warmth in my chest, I felt connected to my parents' love and strength. It flowed through me, amplifying my determination to face the darkness embodied by Mason Delacroix, and the shadows that surrounded us now. Finally, the shadows recoiled, melting away as the cavern surged with light. I was left panting, heart racing, yet filled with an unshakable sense of purpose. Ren stepped closer, a proud glint in her gaze. "You did it, Dahlia. The Heartstone is yours." A sense of victory bloomed within me, but it was coupled with the weight of responsibility. I could no longer run from the truth or the danger it presented. I had to confront Mason Delacroix and reclaim my life. As we prepared to leave the cave, a flicker of unease drifted through my mind. I glanced back at the Heartstone, knowing it was only the beginning, the first step toward taking back my family's legacy and unraveling the darkness ahead. "I'm ready for whatever comes next," I declared, resolve solidifying within my heart. Together we emerged from the cave, and as the daylight greeted us, I knew we were on the cusp of something greater. Armed with the Heartstone, and my will to confront the shadows of my past, I was a force to be reckoned with. I would not let fate dictate my destiny any longer. Chapter 8: Gathering Allies. The days that followed were a whirlwind of preparation. With the Heartstone safely secured, my mind raced at the thought of taking on Mason Delacroix, the man who had shattered my parents' lives, and sought to harness the very artifact meant to protect the balance of existence. Ren and I returned to the city, the air electric with the thrill of our recent victory. Yet I felt the lingering weight of what lay ahead. For the confrontation I envisioned, I needed allies, people who would stand by me in the face of darkness, which meant gathering those connected to my parents' past. "Where do we start?" I asked Ren, her eyes shimmering with anticipation as we moved through the bustling streets. "Knowing your family's friends will be our strongest foundation. There's Morgan, a college professor with ties to your mother. She can provide insight into your parents' dealings and may know others willing to fight." As we traversed the city, the sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows on the sidewalks, a reminder that the light was always in conflict with the darkness. The memories of my parents' love ignited my spirit, fueling my determination. "Morgan lives nearby," Ren said, guiding me toward a quaint, ivy-covered building that bustled with life. I inhaled deeply, ready to meet anyone willing to assist me. We stepped inside, greeted by the warm sense of brewing coffee and a cacophony of conversation. A bookshelf lined one wall, filled with tomes of knowledge and history. I spotted a woman with short, ash-blonde hair, sitting at a corner table, her brow furrowed in concentration as she scribbled notes. "Dahlia," she glanced up, eyes widening with recognition as I approached. "It's been ages. How are you?" "Morgan," I said, relief flooding through me. "I need to talk to you. It's urgent." She sensed my seriousness and gestured for me to sit down. "What's happened?" "I've uncovered some details about my parents, about Mason Delacroix and the Heartstone. They were targeted because of it, and I'm prepared to confront him. But I'll need your help. We need allies." Morgan's expression shifted, concern mingled with empathy. "You're brave to take such a step, Dahlia. I feared something like this would come to pass, knowing how fiercely your parents protected the Heartstone. But we will stand by you. I know others from the old days. I will reach out to them. Do you think they'll come?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. They will, she affirmed, determination shining within her. Your parents were well respected. There are bonds of loyalty that still remain, and I'm sure they'll want to honor their memory. Thank you, I breathed, feeling the weight of hope lighten on my shoulders. I feel like I'm finally taking charge of my destiny. As Morgan set to work, reaching out to old friends and colleagues, I thought about the task ahead. Ren leaned back in her chair, casual yet intent. You'll need more than just numbers, you will need strategies. We must be prepared for Mason's unpredictable nature. What do you mean? Delacroix knows how to play with fear. He will summon darkness of his own, and he will not hold back. We must be vigilant and ready for anything. Nodding, I contemplated the gravity of our mission. What do you know about him? He's cunning, shrewd, and increasingly dangerous. Ren frowned. He can manipulate shadows, bending them to his will. The Heartstone will amplify that if he gets his hands on it. What do we do? Use that to our advantage. With the Heartstone in your possession, you can create light strong enough to counter his darkness. If we're strategic about how we approach this confrontation, we'll stand a chance. Days turned into nights as old allies rekindled their connections, stories unearthed and preparations tightened. Morgan reached out to several influential figures who had once stood by my parents, hearing the echoes of those who had fought battles of their own. As we gathered stories, whispers of old conspiracies emerged, a tapestry of connections, experiences, losses, and victories that would unite us against the encroaching darkness. Finally, the day arrived when we convened at Morgan's apartment, a circle of trusted friends and allies gathered around the dimly lit living room, each face carrying a shared purpose. Thank you all for coming, I began, taking a deep breath. This is about more than just the Heartstone. It's about taking back what Mason Delacroix has stolen from us. We're here to honor the legacy of my parents, and to reclaim our power. The room buzzed with energy. Morgan introduced each person, a mixture of scholars, fighters, and those who once knew my parents. Together we discussed strategies, cooling our experiences, and weaving a strategy against Mason. As the evening unfolded, I felt an undeniable connection forming between us, a thread woven by the courageous hearts willing to stand against darkness. Are we ready? Ren asked, her fiery presence igniting excitement. I nodded, adrenaline surging within me. Let's finish what my parents started. Together. With the warmth of our new alliance, I felt I could face whatever shadows awaited, both within the heart and outside in the world. I was no longer wandering. I was leading, ready to dance with the shadows and claim my destiny. Chapter 9, Confronting Shadows. Our journey led us to the edge of the city, where urban life began to fade into the outskirts, where time seemed to hold its breath amidst the silhouettes of abandoned warehouses looming against the twilight. Gathered in a tight-knit circle, the allies we assembled flanked me with palpable strength. As we approached the decrepit structure that housed Mason Delacroix, I could feel the weight of anticipation and dread clawing at my insides. Here's the plan, Morgan said, stepping forward. Her voice was steady and unwavering, a guiding force. We know Mason's fortified his position within. He won't expect a united front like ours. Ren and I will flank his left, while two of you guard our rear. And I'll be at the forefront, I declared, determination surging through my veins. With the Heartstone, I can keep the darkness at bay. As the plan was outlined, I felt the collective resolve echo amongst us. We would reclaim the relic meant to protect not just me but the entire city from the malice Mason intended to unleash. Remember, the Heartstone's energy can repel shadows, Ren instructed, her voice a delicate whisper as though a storm brewed just beyond the threshold of the warehouse door. Use it wisely to amplify our unity against him. My heart thudded in my chest as we crept toward the warehouse. As we approached the heavy metal door, rusting and creaking under the weight of countless memories, I braced myself for the darkness that awaited us inside. With a deep breath, I crossed the threshold into the shadowy interior. The air was thick with tension, the silence heavy with anticipation. Stay close, Morgan urged as we stepped cautiously into the dim light. Suddenly, the oppressive silence shattered. A sneering voice echoed throughout the warehouse, the sound slithering through with malice and arrogance. "Welcome, Dahlia. I've been expecting you." Mason Delacroix slithered from the shadows, his presence a study in charisma and coldness. He wore an air of confidence, shrouded in darkness, like a moth dancing toward a flame. "Let my parents go, Mason," I demanded, my voice louder than I felt. "You've taken everything from me. This ends tonight." He laughed, a chilling sound that rattled my resolve. "Oh, but dear Dahlia, it's only just begun. Did you honestly think you could wield the Heartstone without consequence? You're far too naive." As he stepped closer, a shroud of darkness surrounded him, tendrils curling around his feet like serpents, eager to strike. "Together. Focus the Heartstone." Ren shouted, the light from my relic pulsing fiercely at her command. "It's not just about power, it's about will." Morgan chimed in, rallying our group. Channeling the Heartstone, I summoned the light, illuminating the darkness swirling around Mason. The shadows recoiled, momentarily dispelled by the radiant energy of the Heartstone. But Mason laughed grimly, refusing to succumb. "You think that pathetic glimmer can stand against me? I've faced far stronger beings than you, child." Beneath his bravado, I could sense unease. The shadows swirled frantically behind him, struggling against the light. "Let the shadows embrace you, let the darkness inside," he roared, his confidence cracking as he thrust out his hands. Shadows surged forward, creeping toward us like a tide intent on drowning the light. "Together," I shouted, rallying my newfound allies. "Channel our light. We stand united." Together, we formed an unyielding barrier. The Heartstone pulsed with the love and memories of my parents, amplifying the light surrounding us. I summoned every ounce of courage as tendrils of darkness threatened to engulf us, piecing together their laughter, their strength, and their sacrifices anchored deep within my heart. The shadows clashed against our combined will, illuminating the warehouse in a brilliant radiance as the walls echoed with the memory of those long lost. "Fight, Dahlia. Fight." Ren's voice entwined with the glow, resonating strength through the dark. Again and again, we countered the encroaching nightmare. Mason's laughter shifted to fury, the shadows screeching as they wrapped around our allies, seeking to pull them into the void. "Hold together," Morgan commanded, fearlessly standing her ground next to me. As I focused my energy, I was aware of the bond we shared, the stories that united us against the darkness. With each flicker of light, I could see the fragments of Mason's power begin to break apart, unraveling like threads in a frayed tapestry. Finally, a scream pierced the air, raw and desperate, as Mason unleashed his own final surge of dark energy, but it faltered against our united will. With one final shout, I thrust the Heartstone forward, channeling its brilliance through the darkness, pushing it back as a surge of energy erupted around us. It illuminated the warehouse, illuminating even the deepest recesses clearer than daylight. "Mason, you're done," I declared, standing tall, fortified by the strength of my allies. In that moment, the shadows recoiled, and Mason Delacroix exploded in a cacophony of darkness, the shadows evaporating into the air and leaving behind a quiet stillness. As the echoes of his presence faded, the room grew silent. It felt like we'd emerged from a storm, hearts racing, breaths quickening, but alive. Chapter 10, The Dawn of Healing. With Mason's defeat reverberating in my chest, a weight lifted. I felt the darkness that had lingered for so long begin to dissipate, replaced by a profound sense of hope. As my allies gathered around me, weary but victorious, Ren stepped forward, her fiery hair bright against the clear morning light that began to seep through the warehouse windows. "You did it, Dahlia." Together, we faced the shadows and emerged stronger. "Thank you," I said, voice trembling with emotion. The realization of what we accomplished sank in like a gentle tide washing over me. "Thank you all for believing in me." Morgan rested a hand on my shoulder, her eyes warm. "We believed in you because you fought for your family and for those who could not fight for themselves. Your strength ignited something in all of us." I felt tears welling in my eyes, emotion bubbling up. I had spent too long in grief, too long feeling lost, disconnected from my past. But in this battle, I had reclaimed the fragments of my life. I miss them, I admitted, voice shaky. Every day it hurts, but it's like I can feel them now. Ren stepped closer, her voice softer now, more nurturing than wicked as she spoke. They are with you, Dahlia. The Heartstone's power connects you to their memory, to their strength. You'll carry them in your heart always. Let that love guide you. Taking a deep breath, I wiped my cheeks, feeling change shimmer in the air. I can finally move forward. Yes, Ren affirmed, her gaze unwavering. Now that you understand your strength, you can begin anew. The shadows may linger, but remember, you are never alone. Honor your parents by living fully in their light. As the morning sun streamed through the cracked windows, the empty warehouse transformed. The warmth seeped into our bones, and an overwhelming sense of peace began to wash over us. With every fixture, every shadow, I felt renewed, a promise of healing flickering in the light of a new dawn. We've all been through battles, Morgan said, glancing around at our united front. Let's stay connected, share our journeys, and heal the wounds that the darkness has left behind. With a circle of hands clasped together, we committed to uplift each other, to face the shadows of our past as a united force. I felt an unbreakable connection forming, new friendships crafted from shared struggles and victories. As we exited the warehouse into the resplendent sunlight, I inhaled deeply, feeling the air vibrant and alive. The memories of my parents fluttered through my mind, a kaleidoscope of laughter, love, and sacrifice. And as we stepped into the world, I was prepared to reclaim my narrative. Leaving behind the weight I no longer needed, I would write my own story, one that honored those I lost, full of life, love, and collaborative strength. Epilogue: The New Light. Months passed, each day a brushstroke on the canvas of my new life. The shadows of grief were remnants now, touched with the colors of healing and growth. I had embraced the light nourished through connections forged out of trust. With Morgan and Ren by my side, we created a community, a gathering of individuals who stood firm against darkness. We offered support and shared our stories, learning to heal the wounds that weighed us down. Together, we forged pathways leading to brighter futures. I used my photography to capture the beauty in life's fleeting moments, remembering the joy and love that once filled my parents' home. Their memory inspired me every day. With each click of the shutter, I remembered their laughter intertwining within the frames. One evening, as I developed new photographs from a recent outing, Ren quietly entered the room, her presence lighting up the space. "The skies are turning violet," she announced as she gazed outside, her hair reflecting the hues of dusk. I paused, cleaning my hands before joining her. The sunset glowed brilliantly over the horizon, intoxicating in its beauty. "It's stunning. Just like your spirit," she said, gently. "You've transformed, Dahlia. From shadows to light, and from loss to love. It's beautiful to witness." We stood side by side, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the clouds with ribbons of crimson and gold. "I never thought I could come this far," I admitted, my heart swelling at the calming wave of community around us. "Love can be a powerful force, more than fear, a bright beacon guiding us through life's uncertainties," Ren said thoughtfully. "And remember, shadows may flicker, but they will never extinguish the legacy of your parents." I smiled softly, knowing that darkness will always seek to encroach, but I had allies who would stand shoulder to shoulder against it. And in that unity, we would forge light, illuminating the path ahead. As night fell, we walked out onto the porch, surrounded by the warmth of laughter from our gathering. I realized the journey was far from over, but it was one I would embrace with open arms, honoring the love and memories of those who shaped me while carving out new memories of my own. Together, we would stand in the light, hands held steady against the shadows, ready to face whatever challenges were yet to come.